Hello. My name is Jess, and this is Patient POV. And in case you're watching the video and you're saying, this looks really weird, what environment are you in? Although it's the same color wall, it is my bed. Yes, you are correct. I'm sitting in my bed right now. I'm recording this intro very late into the day. That's why I look like I have no makeup on because I don't. I'm ready for bed. But I really wanted to get this out today, this episode on Sunday, so that if you're listening to it, you can listen to it on Monday on your early commute into work. If you do that, but if you don't, that's okay too. I appreciate you listening in general. And so, just as our housekeeping things, I'll keep this intro short. But as our housekeeping things, you can find me on Instagram at Jess _and Elda, which is ELDA. That's my service dog in training. Update on her. She's been doing really great this week. She came to work with me on a few days when we went into the office, and we also went to the dentist together. She sat on my lap on the chair when the um, person was doing the teeth cleaning. So that was really awesome for her to be doing so well for me as well. So I'm really thrilled and happy. And so yeah, I am not going to share any stories or questions today, just because I want to keep this one nice and short so that you guys have all the mental energy to be able to listen to Selena and learn about lupus. And I love hearing from her. She's actually a coach as well, and so she does one-on-one sessions with specifically like women who have lupus, and she helps them reclaim their life, empower them. And so she works one on one with a lot of people. So it was great speaking with her. I really enjoyed it. She's also a fellow dog mom as well. And so, yeah, I just look forward to getting you to hear from her. Like I said, it is super late here. I'm not even going to edit that out because I just am showing you the rawness of brain fog, and sometimes sentences don't actually meld well together. But yeah, no, as I'm saying, like this is very late into the day. I don't typically leave the podcast to being like the intro being recorded so late into the day, but I was having a little bit of a high pain day because I did an activity this afternoon. And then I also feel like it was one of those weeks where I am just barely staying on top of everything, where I have school, I have work, I have trying to continue doing the social media stuff with along with the podcast. I am trying to maintain friendships and all this. And so I felt like it was a very heavy day or a heavy week of things to do. There was never a moment of um, just peace and rest. And so, if I can encourage you anything going into this week, it is to find time to take time for yourself, find time to make a list of the things you would like to accomplish, but then cross out all the ones you don't actually need to accomplish this week, and just do some self care. And yeah, I really encourage you to take some time this week to do something for yourself. Um, I will leave it on that note. As always, please feel free to subscribe wherever you're listening from, and write a review if you would like. I appreciate the support as always. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great week ahead. Hello. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat today.
Yay. Okay. Do you want to just jump right on in and give us a little bit of about who you are and kind of your health journey background?
Of course. So I'm Selena. Thank you so much for listening. I'm a lupus warrior, advocate, and dedicated coach for women who are living with lupus. I was diagnosed with lupus in 2019, lupus SLE and lupus nephritis. And this diagnosis really transformed my life. I mean, I shifted my career from teaching in New York City to coaching and doing advocacy full time and just building a community for lupus warriors. I live in Florida now with my two pups, and it's just been amazing being able to do a deeper dive, focusing on my health and living closer to family and just truly embodying the mission to empower other women on their lupus journey. For those of you that might not know, lupus is an autoimmune disease, and this is when your body's immune system attacks your tissues and your organs. And lupus can really look different for everybody, but some of the things that it can impact are your joints, your kidneys, your skin, heart, lungs, brain. It's a systemic disease, so there's so many different ways that it can impact the body. So, since lupus looks so different for everybody, our symptoms can vary, but some of the symptoms that patients with lupus might experience are joint pain, fatigue, brain fog, fever, that butterfly rash. Lupus can also impact the skin. So some people get lesions on their skin. But these are just some of the many things that lupus can cause. And this is why it is very difficult to diagnose, because these are also symptoms that overlap with other diseases. So it's one of those very tricky invisible illnesses to diagnose.
Yeah, for sure. And when you're saying that, like some of those, like you said, overlap, but then people who have lupus may also have other conditions. So that would probably make it even harder to diagnose if they already are trying to explain symptoms from a previous diagnosis or something along those lines, eh?
Yeah, and when you have one autoimmune disease, unfortunately, it sets the scene for you to get multiple autoimmune diseases. And like you mentioned, a lot of those symptoms overlap. So sometimes it's like, a little game of what autoimmune disease is causing this symptom today. It's not fun.
And I have to ask, what kind of dogs do you have?
I have two Aussie doodles. Their
Oh,
names are Leo and Rosie.
oh, so cute. My golden retriever sitting on the other side of this camera. I had to ask.
I
Um,
have them in the bedroom because they'd be barking through this. So
fair enough, fair enough. So a question I ask everyone that has nothing to do with chronic illness, but is there any current show, movie, or book that you're really into right now? Just about anything.
So, to be completely honest with you, I am not a TV girl at all. I have no attention span to pay attention to a show. So, I'm a podcast girly. I
Yeah.
like to multitask, listen to a podcast while I'm, walking the dogs or in between clients. So, I love listening to health and wellness related podcasts. And yeah,
Do you have any in particular you're listening to right now?
my favorite one is Dr. Will Cole's podcast.
Hmm, very cool. I'll
It's
have to.
just does a great deep dive into functional wellness. So
Amazing. Yeah, I'll have to add
love
the
it.
I'll find it and add the link to the show notes as well. Just have to give some support where support is due, of
Oh
course.
yeah.
So do you want to just jump in and maybe explain how the diagnosis journey was into being diagnosed with lupus, if you wouldn't mind?
Absolutely. So I started experiencing symptoms noticeably 6 months prior to my diagnosis. For those of you that don't know, lupus nephritis affects the kidneys, and one of the symptoms of kidney inflammation is water retention in the body. So I started experiencing swelling rapidly, and one of the other symptoms of lupus, which is the butterfly rash across the face. So everything was kind of happening sporadically. And I kept going to all of these different doctors. At some point, other points, I would be in the hospital because the symptoms were just becoming so severe. And of course, lupus mimics a lot of different diseases. So they wanted to just get to the bottom of it and rule out other things. But it was a pretty rough journey to the diagnosis.
Hmm. And I know a trademark of lupus is definitely like your butterfly rash and there's like certain things that are like, oh yeah, this is lupus. But I also know that lupus is considered one of those diagnoses that's kind of hard to get because it mimics so many other things. And so did you ever run into an issue where you had doctors either dismissing your symptoms or trying to convince you something else or any like medical gaslighting, anything like that?
So when I was on the diagnosis journey, a lot of the things that I were experiencing, since they weren't all at the same time, they seemed minor. So when I started experiencing the swelling, the emergency room thought that I had an allergic reaction. So instead of running tests, they were like, take a Benadryl and go home, and that ended up causing more severe swelling. I also had like a misdiagnosis of rosacea when they looked at the butterfly rash on my face. There was nothing else present at the same time that was making it seem as if it would be lupus. And lupus mimics diseases like Lyme disease. And sometimes those markers that come up on lab work can be, consistent with Lyme or blood cancers or things like that. So there were so many drastic things that were being thrown out there that, it was scary while they were trying to get to the bottom of everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. It sounds like it would be frustrating and scary all at the same time for sure.
Yeah.
And now when you were now that you've got your diagnosis, you've had your diagnosis since 2019. I know you are working really hard on yourself to help mitigate symptoms. What would you say are some of the daily challenges you're still facing today?
So honestly, the biggest challenges that I think come up for me often and daily. I mean, thankfully, I've been in a place where I've been flare free for quite some time. That was one of the biggest hurdles in the past that I was facing. But I would really say just continuing to navigate the healthcare system, which I'm sure you could relate to, and just finding that balance between prioritizing my health needs and also fulfilling my passions.
Yeah, wonderfully said. Thank you. And so what would you say is the hardest thing about so you're talking about the United States now. I'm in Canada, just for context. What would you say is like the hardest part about navigating the American healthcare system?
I think in terms of navigating the American healthcare system, really just access to care all around has been really difficult. I think that wait times for appointments and like you mentioned before, medical gaslighting is a huge thing. And I know not just primarily in the US, I think worldwide that's a big issue that's faced in the chronic illness community when you have an invisible illness or when you're even a woman, right, going into doctor's appointments and trying to speak up for yourself. It's really challenging. So those are just some of the things. I think also insurance is a huge hurdle. Um, Something that a doctor deems medically necessary, an insurance company might not. So really going through those hurdles just to get the care that you need has definitely come up with navigating healthcare for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's one misconception that I've debunked in my own mind about the American healthcare system is the fact that you guys do have quite decently long wait times, and I didn't realize that because I thought you just call up your doctor and you get an appointment quite quickly, but that's not the case, eh?
Yeah, and I think it also depends on location too. Some locations have maybe, more rheumatologists, for example, that might be in the area. So it might be a little bit easier to find an appointment. I remember when I was initially diagnosed and I'm sorry, before I was diagnosed and I was experiencing the symptoms that at this point we knew were kidney related. Trying to find a nephrologist that can take me in as an emergency was so difficult. And then I used to call hospitals in advance to make sure that the person that I knew that I needed to see was available. Like if I ever thought I was experiencing like a potential blood clot based off of symptoms that I was having, I'm like, all right, I'm coming in. It's 2 a.m., but is this person that's going to run the test here? Or am I going to be waiting for, 3 days for them in the ER? So it's definitely a battle. And I'm glad that you shared your perspective just being in Canada because I think too, there's that financial aspect as well, where a lot of, appointments or medications aren't covered and people are doing things out of pocket to get the proper test ran for them and stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And then you also mentioned that you've been flare free for quite some time, which is absolutely amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. Um,
Thank you. I just got chills like as you said that. It's still I'm super grateful. So
yeah. And so, what do you think might have been some things that contributed to allowing you to kind of stay flare free?
honestly, after my last hospitalization, it was just like a light bulb went off for me that I really needed to take control of my health and make adaptations that would improve my overall well-being. So I've adopted a holistic approach to wellness, incorporating diet and exercise and mindfulness and just being really in tune with my body. So I think as soon as I chose to make those changes in my life in terms of lifestyle and mindset, I saw those changes and being consistent with that over time has definitely put me in a place where I've been flare free consistently, along with being consistent with my medications as well.
Yeah, no, of course, that a good combo of holistic and Western
Yep.
medicine. Yeah, a good
Yeah.
combo
No,
for
there's a
sure.
great, you have to balance the two for sure.
Yeah. And so what would a if you have what would a typical day in the life look like for you now?
So each day really is tailored to how I'm feeling that day. Even though I have been flare free, I do still have bouts of fatigue that come up. And I kind of do like a body scan in the morning just to see how I'm doing. But I really make sure each day that I'm prioritizing rest. I'm taking breaks throughout the day. If my body's telling me that I need a nap, I'll take one. I'm a huge advocate for guilt-free rest, making sure that I'm eating nourishing foods, gentle movement each day, meditation, and just having like my me time.
Mhm.
Like I said before, when I walk the dogs and listening to my podcast and just pouring into education and dedicating time to that coaching and advocacy and community building as well. Like those are the things that bring me joy and fill my cup, which overall just pours into how I'm feeling every day.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so you're mentioning the coaching and the advocacy. And so kind of a two-parter here is what made you want to get into this? And then how do you help other people through your coaching?
So my advocacy journey started once I started sharing my story. I really just I got onto Instagram. I created this page, My Loopy Life, that has now grown into this phenomenal community of lupus warriors and other people that want to support lupus warriors. But right out of the hospital, I just wanted to start sharing my story because I felt like I just wanted my voice to be heard. I wanted people to see what I was going through. And that turned into such a supportive community of people that wanted to advocate for lupus and raise awareness and just empower others to do the same. So once that shift happened from just sharing my story to helping other people on their journey, that's when my coaching programs began. I have one-to-one coaching programs as long as I have one-to-one coaching programs as well as group coaching programs, and they're targeted for anyone living with lupus or on the diagnosis journey that want to educate themselves about their condition and share about their experiences and advocate and just really reclaim their lives from lupus. When we are diagnosed, there's so much unpredictability and we feel like lupus takes so much away from us. So I really just built everything that I needed in the beginning of my journey.
Amazing. Yeah, that's so awesome. And so, kind of going back throughout your transition from undiagnosed, diagnosed, and to now, how has that affected your mental health throughout the entire span of that?
Honestly, this diagnosis really took a significant toll on my mental health because in the beginning of the diagnosis journey, through the beginning stages of receiving a diagnosis, it's very scary, but also your life changes entirely. Any chronic illness that you're diagnosed with, your life is going to change. And for me in the beginning, it was this overwhelming tidal wave, basically, of what is my life going to look like now? I felt like because now I had this diagnosis, I was not going to be able to reach my goals or achieve my dreams or, be a mom maybe one day. Or there were just so many things that went through my mind that I thought it was going to hold me back from. However, over time, it's been 4 years now, embracing my journey has really led to such a powerful transformation in just my overall well-being. I mean, professional support has definitely played a role in that, but I think really diving into the support systems and refusing to let lupus define me has been really helpful in the changes on the journey in terms of mental health.
So, what are some resources or tools and tricks that you use on a daily basis that help you?
So, some of the resources that have been really helpful for me on my journey, again, I think that just diving into the online community, really utilizing that as a support system has been really helpful for me, not only in the beginning of my journey, but every day on a daily basis. Now, there's a lot of tools that are provided through nonprofit organizations like the Lupus Foundation of America or Lupus Chick. There's a ton of resources out there, any lupus related books. And like I said before, health and wellness podcasts are really helpful for me on my journey. But then in terms of like daily tangible tools and routines, some of my game changers that I've been utilizing on my journey are tools such as CBD. That's been really helpful for me in terms of sleep, anti-inflammatory. There's a phenomenal company that I use called Nuvita, and also I use these ginger turmeric drops from Leafy Organics, and that has been an absolute game changer for pain, but also for prevention. And I take these things even when not being in pain. Again, preventative measures and just continuing to live that anti-inflammatory lifestyle. Also, red light therapy has been a game changer for me, both red and near infrared, phenomenal. So I'm a big wellness virtual girly.
I love that. Yeah. And so what does red light therapy do?
So,
Sure.
red light therapy is really beneficial for inflammation in the body, as well as any pain that you might be having in joints or muscles. It's also really great for circulation. That's, I know, a problem that a lot of chronic illness patients experience. So,
Amazing. Yeah. And so I know that you're coaching, you're now in Florida. How do you see over the next like 5 years or 10 years? What are you hoping to see in your life?
ooh,
Mm,
that's a great question. Well, I definitely am aiming to expand not only my coaching programs, but I think just the reach of my loopy life, contributing, more significantly to lupus research and awareness, and getting the community together in person is one of my dreams that will hopefully be near approaching. But just continuing to make sure that I'm pouring into my efforts of fostering a environment in a world where living with lupus means thriving and not just surviving, and making sure that people who are living with lupus have the tools and the resources that they need to take control of their life, while also simultaneously raising that awareness for people to be more familiar with what lupus is, how it can impact others as well.
amazing. Yeah, for sure. And then my last question for you today is do you have any words of encouragement or any words of advice for somebody who is either starting their diagnosis journey or are in the thick of a flare or something along those lines? Anything for them?
Yeah, if you are on a similar journey, whether you're newly diagnosed, approaching a diagnosis, or just in the dumps of a flare right now, I just want you to remember that your diagnosis does not define you. And even though it may be really difficult to see a light in the tunnel, there definitely is one there and you're approaching it. Just continue to embrace your strength, lean on your community, and believe in your ability to thrive.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, I really do appreciate you coming on the podcast today. I had so much fun. And thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.